their first move in what will be a busy offseason by extending a qualifying offer to second-year guard Talen Horton-Tucker. Also, the Los Angeles Times is reporting that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry both have the Lakers on their radar ahead of free agency. So, Ramona, what are realistic expectations for the Lakers this offseason?
Well, the step with Talen Horton-Tucker is that they had to do that so that he becomes a restricted free agent. The question is, how far are they willing to go in terms of extending him and how much money they're going to pay him? Because other teams can sign him to a deal which would be very uncomfortable for the Lakers in the way that they backload that contract and the way they set up the contract. DeMar DeRozan, LA kid, not surprising to me at all that he'd be interested in the Lakers. Same thing with Kyle Lowry, but for how much? Because it's difficult for them to pay anything more than the way this works. The salary cap math works for the Lakers is if Montrezl Harrell picks up his player option, he has until July 31st to do that. If he opts into his deal, they've used their mid-level exception, which means
about nine-ish.
Yeah, nine-ish. Yeah. They can't pay anybody more than $5.9 million. That's a pretty significant pay cut for either of those two guys, which means they would likely have to acquire them via sign and trade. Now, Alex Caruso, unrestricted free agent. Andre Drummond, unrestricted free agent. Dennis Schroeder, unrestricted free agent. Now, the Lakers tried to keep Schroeder, obviously, during the year. They offered him several different contracts. He thinks he can get more. My understanding, I don't know that he can elsewhere. I'm not sure where the home would be for him elsewhere. You've heard New York, Chicago. I don't know if that will materialize in the way that during the year, and so the Lakers may end up getting a discount to keep Schroeder. I think they have other opportunities in terms of trades lined up that they can push those buttons. This is what you do in a front office. You call around the league, you have things set up, and decide which doors to walk through. So the first point where we find out what the Lakers are going to do this offseason comes at the draft. I think they have a couple of deals that they could potentially move forward on to acquire either a point guard or help around the roster. But Rob Pelinka and his staff have been working. Last year was obviously a disappointment for the Lakers and the Heat, the two teams that went to the finals. And they have ambitions to get right back there. If you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis on your roster, you are a championship team. So I expect the Lakers to be active. I think of the two you mentioned, DeRozan and Lowry, I think Lowry is more of an option than DeRozan just because he doesn't seem to fit. He doesn't necessarily fit Toronto's long-term plans anymore. Well,
and real quick before Perk goes, they need a secondary playmaker, right? Like, I don't think there's any question about that. So Lowry fits that more so than DeRozan. Perk, what do you think the expectation should be for the Lakers here?
Well, first of all, the Lakers need to be crying tears of joy that Dennis Schroeder didn't take the extension after the way he played this postseason, and they need to be trying to find a home from him, either with a sign of trade or get off his salary. And then next, they need to get rid of Kyle Kuzma. Look, Kyle Kuzma is just not going to figure out a way how to play winning basketball. I'm tired of watching them play. I know guys around the league and on that team are tired of being a part of what he's been bringing to the table. But long as you have LeBron James and long as you have Anthony Davis, you can fill in those spots. Look, we have to remember both of those guys were not healthy. We also have to remember that before LeBron James got injured, he was playing at an MVP level. Yes, at year 18. I believe that Anthony Davis is going to come back on a mission. Matter of fact, I'm predicting right now that he's going to be the one to win MVP next season. He sees all the slander. He's hearing everything about Giannis. He's very quiet at the moment. And from what I'm hearing, he's working his tail off behind the scenes. So, look, the Lakers got to do something, but I would not panic if I'm a Lakers fan because you still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You can fill in the pieces. DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry will fit just well. If you could sign and trade and the Wizards will take on Kuzma and Dennis Schroeder and you get back Russell Westbrook, then do your thing. What happened? What's that, George? I can't see.
I wrote it down, so that way we have a record of this. You said AD MVP.
Yeah,
it says
fine.
Perk AD MVP.
Yeah. I believe so.
Okay. I just want to make sure we document this stuff with you.
Well, we have to always remember who came into the league at the same time, who won, who was up for shoe deals at the same time. Giannis and Anthony Davis have a lot in common there. And Anthony Davis actually won a title before Giannis did. Okay, let's remember that. But Giannis got a signature shoe deal before AD. And there's a competitiveness. So I know what you're talking about there, Perk. And when you didn't do it, and you heard all this year, Anthony Davis obviously didn't have a good finish to the year. He didn't have a good year in general. So if he's motivated, that's all the Lakers need to hear. That's all they need to hear. LeBron and AD is enough as long as they're motivated and healthy.
We'll see. It is going to be a fascinating offseason, as I continue to say that throughout the show. All right, coming up next, speaking of
Nichols still here with Robert Ory. Hello, Zach Lowe over there. Let's talk about the champs from last season, the Lakers. Our Mark Spears of The Undefeated says the sources have told him that the Lakers have been on the hunt for a veteran point guard and that Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook are on the list. Well, let's look how possible that is. Here's the Lakers' financial situation. Their top 4 players will make more than $100 million. They do have at least 10 free agents. The Lakers can offer the $9.5 million mid-level exception if they don't bring back their own free agents, and their next available first-round pick to trade is not until 2027, which is not soon, but sadly not as far away as one might think. Zach, what is a realistic way for the Lakers to upgrade at point guard and transform this roster a little bit?
It's going to cost you your depth. It's going to cost you Kyle Kuzma, maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for salary reasons if we're talking some of the big names. And it might cost you signing and trading Dennis Schroeder. And the whole point of getting Dennis Schroeder was to do exactly what we're talking about. Give LeBron James someone else who could run the offense. And Dennis Schroeder just did not shoot it well enough. 33% from 3 in the regular season. Even worse in the playoffs. The ideal point guard for LeBron James is someone who can run some of the offense, but I think even more importantly, if LeBron's going to have the ball a lot and AD's going to have the ball a lot, space the floor, and that's what Dennis Schroeder could not do for them. And the ideal guy is going to be a combination of all those skills, but shooting has to be a big part of it. Good luck to them trying to find that player with the trade assets they have. It's possible. It's just going to be tough. And you know the Lakers are going to try to hang on to Taylor Horton-Tucker, and that every team that they're dealing with is going to look at him as the guy they want most of all. So that will be an interesting little tug of war.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is THT is one of those guys that's up and coming. So the Lakers going to try to hold on to him as much as possible, but it's going to be hard because of that salary cap for them to get a veteran guard. You talk about CP3. I don't think he's going to give up all that money to go to the Lakers. And you talk about Westbrook. It's too much money. And you got to think about it. The Lakers aren't going to do that. If you're going to look for a guard, you got to go with someone like Kyle Lowry. I know they didn't get him in the trade, but maybe you can sweet talk him and say, yo, man, we can give you whatever we can. Come play for us. Let's win a championship. You know, you only got one, dog. You know, one ring don't really count in NBA. You got to get 2 or more. So come play with us with the Lakers. Even if you can't get him Gordon Dragic. There's so many guards out there that I think you can get. But for me, right now, you need a guy like Kyle Lowry, a dog that's mentally tough, that's going to say, LeBron, get off the ball. I got the ball. And I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to get everybody in a set, and we're going to run this thing and win a championship. So Kyle Lowry is the only guy that I see, or Dragic. Those are top 2 for me if they're going to get anybody.
Well, Robert, you know I was singing the Kyle Lowry chorus at the trade deadline and really had wanted the Lakers to do what they needed to do to make that deal because I thought that it would be insurance for what actually happened, which was Anthony Davis gets hurt, which was a big part of why the Lakers' playoff run fell apart. If you had had a steadying presence like Kyle, someone who'd been there before, who is, as you say, a dog and who can shoot, that might have helped them get through maybe an early round or 2. Of course, the Suns proved they were a pretty tough opponent as well, so we'll never know for sure. I know that Kyle Lowry is looking for big money this offseason.
Last contract.
But, Zach, we've seen Kyle looking for big money before. There was a time, was it the last time he was a free agent? You can correct me here. He thought there might be the point guard market basically dried up right before he hit it. And it turned out that the Raptors were able to get him for a little less money than they thought they had to. Some of the issues here, Zach, also with a trade, I want you to sort of suss out for me. The names you mentioned, guys who could go in to sign and trade if the Lakers had to match salary, are those names that a team that has, say, Chris Paul wants to take back for Chris Paul? I mean, isn't that going to be kind of the problem if the Lakers feel that they're not good enough to play on their roster or they're not going to be championship contenders? Isn't that part of the issue here with any sign and trade options?
Well, first of all, Kyle Lowry still got paid. He still got $30 million a year. Players
I'm
at that level
saying he didn't get lowballed. I'm not saying that he didn't get money. I just mean that, you know.
He didn't get Chris Paul money.
He got less than he was initially looking for. But, of course, he got paid, and he won a championship, so he paid it off. But, yes, please go ahead.
And the other part of your question, yeah, of course, that's exactly the issue that the Lakers are facing. Those are not sexy names, and Chris Paul is a sexy name. It would have to be sort of, if you're doing that kind of trade, it would have to be someone whose salary is maybe a little distressed, or the team doesn't really get excited about paying that guy's salary. It's not going to be easy. There are, though, a ton of point guards on the free agency market this summer, some of whom will re-sign with their own teams, some won't. So it is possible something kind of shakes out and there is a game of musical chairs that somebody or two somebodies lose and the Lakers all of a sudden are in a stronger position. We'll see.
Yeah. By the way, when anybody takes even like a little tiny bit less than they, as an NBA, the rest of us mere mortals, as Zach points out, it's still a lot of money.